All right, we have been going deep into the 12 powers. Could you turn that away from me just a little? I can hear it blowing in my microphone. So far we've gone through faith, and we've gone through strength, wisdom, love, power, imagination, understanding, will, and order. And today we will be going into zeal, elimination, and life. Now, zeal is one of those words that it's like a word my grandma used to use, right? It's kind of an old-fashioned word. But zeal is about enthusiasm and excitement. It's about having passion for something. Zeal is what enables us to get excited and start something, and it keeps us motivated so we can carry it through. Now, Charles Fillmore, who wrote the book, The 12 Powers, he said that zeal is present on a universal level and on a planetary level, besides just in the physical level that we know of. He says, zeal is the mighty force that incites the winds, the tides, the storms. It urges the planet on its course, and it spurs the ant to great exertion. Zeal is the impulse to go forward, the urge behind all things. So there's zeal present everywhere in life, because life is everywhere. So zeal is present in all of that. He goes on to say, the man without zeal is like an engine without steam. I think younger people might be like, what's that? What does that even mean? But like we know, I think all of us here know what the steam engine is. But I felt that. I felt like an engine that didn't have the steam. That just happens. Zeal is energy in motion. And it's the energy that is the forerunner of every effect that is demonstrated in our life. So behind everything that we see, zeal was what brought it into being, right? If it's a plant or a planet or a body, that's zeal. So zeal is the quality that urges all of life to express. Zeal is contained within the acorn in that programming that grows it into a mighty oak tree. That tiny little acorn, there's that much zeal in there. Well, imagine what is working through us right now, right here. Imagine that power working through us. If it can do what it does with an acorn, and the acorn doesn't have conscious thought, right? Here we are conscious. We can set intentions. So zeal urges through us also. It's an urge through us. We experience a great desire, and then we get this idea or an inspiration, and zeal is what creates the enthusiasm for that so that it has a chance to be made manifest in our life. Now, we don't always manifest every great idea we get. We don't always act on every great inspiration. But zeal is what gives those ideas the chance to be made manifest. Now, zeal gets us out of our comfort zone. And, you know, life can be good. Life can be good just the way it is, but that doesn't mean it's okay to stay in our comfort zone. The comfort zone can be where we go to rest, but our soul in general is in a constant state of expansion. Our soul expands through every new experience. So if we stop giving our soul new experiences, then we're stuck in a comfort zone. And when we're in our comfort zone for too long, what happens is we stagnate. Just like a pool of water that has no motion within it, it gets stagnant too and starts growing murky things in there. And so zeal helps us to get out of our comfort zone. Our comfort zone, we don't want to stay there. We are moving out of our comfort zone all the time. Within the comfort zone, there's no movement, there's no momentum. But it doesn't mean, by stepping out, it doesn't mean we have to completely rethink our life. It doesn't mean we have to take huge steps, make gigantic changes, change careers, do whatever. Little things also bring new experiences to the soul. If you've thought about starting a garden, if you have thought about taking a class to learn a new language, if you thought about picking up an instrument, joining the choir, those are all things that give our souls new experiences. I've been feeling a tremendous amount of excitement and enthusiasm just because our volunteer base is growing so much and we have so much happening here now. So that's been exciting. So we just pick something small. It doesn't have to be a huge thing. But that small thing will give us the feeling of zeal and enthusiasm, which keeps the life moving through us. Okay, in the comfort zone, it's that stagnant old pond. There's no motion in there, right? We want to have momentum all the time. Zeal's command is go forward. Go forward. And that's why it feels exciting. It is about excitement. It is about building excitement for new things. When we feel enthusiastic, we are in the present moment, which is where our power is. Our power is all at this point in the present moment. Now, zeal feels so great. That's why we can lose track of time. That's why some of us may even forget to eat, which is unheard of. Like, I have been so excited about things, I will forget lunch. And it's rare that I miss a meal, right? It's like, meals are important to me. But when we are not in our present moment, when we're fretting about the future or we're fretting about our past, we've just sent vital life force energy into a time that doesn't exist here in this present moment. And that will cause stagnation in our energy system. So we don't want to be focused on the future or focused on our past. The zeal can't go there and work through our body in the present moment. So zeal is about being excited right here and right now. And there are two ways that we express zeal. Okay, we express zeal in the things we do in the outer, outside of ourselves. If we teach others, if we're volunteering, if we are helping other people, healers are expressing zeal outwards. But we are also meant to express zeal inwards, into our own personal growth, into our own well-being. Now, what happens when we get too focused out here and not focused enough in here is we become overzealous. Overzealous. You've heard of a zealot, right? Yeah, that's overzealousness out here. When I was a holistic healer, I did experience a time where I was way overzealous. And I actually remember being here at this church in Harmony Hall, and I was talking with a woman, and she asked me about healing. And I actually started going on and on and on, right? Like a freight train. And she took a step back from me. And I found myself taking a step forward again. And she took another step back. And I was like, oh my gosh, what did I just do? What did I just do? But now in the healing arts, I went through a big period of burnout because I was not directing energy within. I was not directing the energy within me for my personal growth, my well-being. I wasn't filling the well. Now, how many of us are taught really that filling the well is a priority? We're not. Our culture is a culture of give till it hurts. That's our culture. But filling the well, we have to fill the well first. You've heard the metaphor of being on the plane. If you have to put your oxygen mask on, right, put it on yourself first before your loved ones, your family. That's what we have to do, because if we experience burnout, we're not any good to anybody. So our energy needs to go to us first. Now, when we are filling our well first and we're feeling zeal toward our own well-being, we're listening to that voice, that intuition telling us the next best thing to do for ourselves, we become able to do more good in the world around us. And that's what we want to do. We want to do good. We want to be of service. We want to be spreading the light. Especially now. More than anything right now, we want to be sharing that light with others. When we are doing that, what we're doing is letting the Christ mind work through us. Now, what that means, the Christ mind equals divine expression. Divine awareness, having awareness that we are in relationship with the Creator because it is us, that we are the divine activity of spirit walking around in a body. So when we're expressing the Christ mind, we are making choices in our life that are based on love, that honor our divine nature, that honor the divine nature in all other people. So we honor other people. If we think about the impact that would have in our culture right here and right now, if every choice we made honored the light that was in another person, no matter how we felt about them on a personal level, okay, that would impact the amount of goodness that was in our world. I mean, it would increase. It would increase so much we couldn't even count it. So having zeal, okay, being excited about, first of all, our own well-being, caring for ourselves, filling our well, so then we get clarity. We're acting from the Christ consciousness, so then we're doing good out in the world. This gives us clarity on what we should do that nurtures ourselves and others. It also gives us clarity on what we shouldn't be doing anymore, which leads me into our next power, which is elimination. Elimination, or renunciation, but it is about letting go. It's about letting go. It is about sacrificing things in our life that are not serving us anymore. And there might be some of those. We have to be good with being able to release things that don't serve us, because things that don't serve us will often keep us from being able to bring in those things that would serve us. And Charles Fillmore tells a great story about this whole process in the tale of Sodom and Gomorrah. So we've all heard of Sodom and Gomorrah. It was a city of crime and corruption. I don't know, like Vegas? I don't know. Vegas has some fun things in it too, though. Now, the city, of course, it was so corrupt that God said, in this story, God said, well, I'm just going to have to wipe this off the face of the planet because there's so much crime and corruption here. We don't want it spreading out. Well, there was a good family, though, that lived there. And the father in this family was named Lot. And so these angels took on human form, and they went to warn Lot, like, you need to get your family out of here because tomorrow morning this is going to be a big hole in the ground. So you need to go now, and do not look back. Focus only on the future. Do not look back. So Lot gathered together his family, and they fled. But his wife, who didn't want to leave, this was her life. This is where her friends were. This is where her home was. This is where she knew Lot had a job and could take care of them. She did not want to go. I mean, she left to save her life and her family's life, but she did not want to go. But what she did then, she looked over her shoulder. She looked back. She turned back, and that's when she turned into a pillar of salt. Now, the story of Sodom and Gomorrah is a metaphor for our consciousness. That when our consciousness is focused on pleasure and sensation, that's implying lack consciousness. Crime and corruption happen because of lack consciousness. It's a focus on what's out here, thinking we need something out here to please us. But as we know, if we're not filling the well, if we're not turning in here first, we can get things out here that will bring us momentary pleasure, but it doesn't last, right? That's why whether it's a new car, a new purse, a new outfit, a new haircut, a new house, those things pass. Eventually, they don't do what they did for us anymore because it's focusing out here. So what we want to do is we want to look in our own life. What are those habits that we have in our own life? What are we focused on out here that's not actually doing good for us in here? What are we focused on? Now, that could be a habit. It could be a horrible relationship, a horrible job. It could be eating junk food every single day. There's something, though, that likely we need to let it go. Now, like Lot's wife, okay, we can choose to let the behavior go. We could choose to do that. We can choose to go off sugar. We can choose to give up junk food. We can choose to go ahead and maybe start a walking routine every day. But if we resent that we had to do it, if we lament that this is taking place in our life, if we keep thinking about the past when we could get up in the morning and drink a Dr. Pepper and eat a Snickers bar for breakfast and feel okay. You know, if we think about that time, a long time ago, and resent that we can't do it now, we are doing what Lot's wife did. Now, sure, she left it all behind, but she didn't actually leave it behind. She kept carrying it with her here. So there may be a certain way of living that is no longer serving us. And we need to clear that. Otherwise, we're still carrying it with us. If we are resenting something that we had to do back here, like I experienced this when I discovered I had a bunch of food sensitivities. Like I was really resentful about that. I found out I was sensitive to gluten, but I was also sensitive to every flour, not just wheat flour. So I couldn't even eat gluten-free breads, right? I would feel terrible. And I would see my friends like eating their little sandwiches and quesadillas, and I would just be really mad. I would be mad. I would resent it so much that I couldn't step into a new identity of a person who just didn't have those things. I couldn't step into that identity because I was so focused on it. I couldn't have enthusiasm then, which meant I wasn't making any changes within me. I didn't have enthusiasm, so I didn't have that additional energy urging me into that new consciousness. We don't have enthusiasm when we're focused on resenting something. We don't have enthusiasm if we're bitter about having to have made those changes. Charles Fillmore said a change of mind affects a corresponding change in the body. Change of mind, change of the body. If the thoughts are lifted up, the whole body is raised to a higher rate of vibration. If the system has been burdened with congestion of any kind, a higher life energy will set it into universal freedom. But, there's always a but. There's always a but. There must be a renunciation or a letting go of the old thoughts before the new can find its place in the consciousness. So we cannot hang on to the old thoughts and also want to embrace the new at the same time. This is what is meant by you cannot serve two masters. That's what that means. You cannot desire vitality in the body and have that vitality in the body at the same time. You wish you could give up sugar so you could have vitality in the body. You can't have both of those at the same time. You've either got to give up the sugar and be willing to let that just go away to claim your new consciousness of having vitality in the body. But we can't do both. I tried this in a lot of ways. Right? I'm like, there's got to be some kind of sugar that will actually make me feel like $1 million. And there's not. There's not. Now, this is where denials and affirmations can be so helpful to us. And when I say denial, within unity, they're a package. They go together, denial and an affirmation, denial and affirmation. A denial is when we face up to that thing we see as an obstacle and decide we're no longer going to give it power over us. We can acknowledge that it's hard, but this is where we are casting our burden onto spirit, to our higher self, to God. We're casting that burden to let the higher forces help us face the solution. Because if we're focused on our problem, right, we can't come up with a solution. The same mind that created the problem can't create a solution. We have to cast our burden. Right? So that's what the denial helps us do. They are so together a denial and an affirmation are kind of like superpowers. So let's say that Lot's wife had used the process of denials and affirmations. Let's say that she did that. So we know she didn't want to move. We know she resented that she had to move. She believed that move would ruin her life, that she would never be happy again because that's where she lived, that's where her home was, that's where her family was, that's where her friends were. Like, that's where she grew up. So she had a right to be mad about that, to be angry. She had that right. But instead of just saying, I don't want to move, it'll ruin my life, we can't do this. Instead of just saying that, if she had done the denial first, what that might have looked like was, okay, I don't know how we'll get a new house. I don't know where we're going to move. Lot doesn't seem to move. This all happened pretty fast. I don't even know how Lot's going to support us. I don't even know how that'll happen. I don't know how I'll make new friends. All of these friends here, they're going to be gone. I don't know how, but I do know that there's that within me that knows what to do, how to do it, and it compels me to act on what it knows. And I do know that that same activity is busy in my husband, who is all gung-ho to move. So that'll be working through him because he's more willing. I understand I'm not willing. But I'm willing to let the Christ mind inspire me. I'm willing to be inspired to the next things that I can do. I am open to moving into a new life where there's possibility. I am open to that. That's how she might have used denials and affirmations. That's how she might have done it. So we want to do that also. There's something in our life that's an obstacle to something we want, but that other something that is the obstacle feels like it's going to be really, really, really hard to get out of our life. We can use the process of denials and affirmations. Now, what happened to Lot and his family, what happened to Lot's wife, has happened to every single one of us in this room today. Every single one of us has had a life, and then that life that we had was gone in a big hole in the ground behind us, and there is no going back. Every single one of us has had some version of that happen. But if we stay stuck back there in that life, that had all those things that we love, the way that we love them, we can't be open to receiving the life that is here for us now, that has all of the possibilities present right here and now. That is the power of denials and affirmations. And then that leads us then to the generative life, the 12th of the 12 powers. Generative life, regeneration, the life force. Now, Charles Fillmore said, the whole purpose of all the 12 powers was for us to be able to have regenerative life within us. That means that we utilize all of these different energies, all the things they're called, zeal, faith, right? The strength, the power, mastery. We utilize all of those things. It regenerates us here and now because there is that life force, life with a capital L, that's always moving through us. Life force moves through the acorn, grows it into an oak tree, but then it doesn't go away. It doesn't say, oh, okay, the oak tree is an oak tree now. The life force stays in constant forward motion through the oak tree as the oak tree changes with every season. It brings forth new life in the spring, in the summer. In fall, it closes down a little bit. Like my mom was saying that trees, sap recedes on them a little bit in the fall. And then that's when all the leaves die. I didn't know that. That was like a thing I learned like a week ago. The life force, though, continues to work through the oak tree. Life force is continuing to work through us all the time. That's our ability to energize and vitalize our own bodies and our own life. Because it's a planetary thing. It's working through all things. All things. Charles Fillmore says this is the purpose of the 12 powers. The vitality and well-being, they are the effect of when we think with a higher consciousness. When we think through the lens of the 12 powers. Okay, when we think through that lens. Because then we're living our way, or living our life consciously and with intention. So there's that life with a capital L. It's the energy that propels all things into action. It works through all of the things, the tiny acorn, the little tiny ant, the little bud that blossoms through us. And it continues to work through us past our physical body and into the life that we create. It's into things that are obvious, creative endeavors, painting, writing, playing music. But it's also it moves into the way we have relationships with others, how we share kindness, how we go to a deeper level of friendship with people. That is how life continues to move through us and into our life. It is constant and it is regenerative. So it's always got that forward motion that we need. In the book of John, John made a connection between light, life, and God as what makes things manifest. That's when he said the Word was in the beginning, and that very Word was God, with God, and God was the Word. So the Word was with God, and God was that Word. The Word is Spirit declaring itself into manifestation. That's what the Word is, a declaration of how to direct this energy into something, into a manifestation. So the unlimited potential received this direction and created the universe and everything that we see. But within us is also that same unlimited potential, and also the force that calls it into manifestation. So we have this life force that works through us to create, but we also have a force working through us to direct that creation. It's the urge behind the substance that we create with. We're creative machines. That's what we are. We're designed to create in our lives. There's all this potential like working through us. So life is the force that works through us. It's the universal life pulse that many people call God. That's what God is the universal life in all of its different forms and qualities. The substance that everything is made from, the force, the zeal that propels things into being. It's pure, it's non-judgmental, it's just here to create. But Charles Fillmore said, a great creative plan is being worked out in which the deity, which is substance, spirit, is incarnating itself in its creation. We're its creation. That means me. Say that with me. That means me. Do this with your shoulders. That means me. This incarnation is called Son of Man. In man, a wonderful being is in process of creation. And this being is the spiritual man who will be equal with God when he overcomes or handles with wisdom and power the faculties of the body. When we start thinking through our I am consciousness, when we start directing all of that energy that works through us, through our body for well-being, into our life for well-being and goodness. So we were created as a vehicle for more good to keep coming into the world. We're the vehicle for all that good. And that is how we create heaven on earth. So heaven on earth is expressed through us, through the condition of our heart. Are we inspired? Do we feel excited about something? Do we want to just shout it out about our next experience that we want to have? Let there be light. Like whatever that is that we want to create in our lives. Okay, whether it's a garden or a quilt or a new song or a trip, that's our light. Let there be light. If it's healing, if it's relationships, let there be light. When Christ said, I am the resurrection and the life, what he was saying was that if we allow our Christ mind or our higher mind to work through us, that we would awaken and have the consciousness and the awareness of our relationship to the indwelling spirit, to that spirit that created us and is working through us. So we can experience then, like the 12 powers help us do that. Faith, strength, wisdom, love, mastery over, imagination, understanding, will, order, zeal, the enthusiasm, being able to consciously let go of beliefs that no longer serve us and then affirm those things that do serve us. They allow us to have that consciousness of God working through us, for us, as us. We have awareness of the Christ consciousness, so we're now directing the life force energy that's working through us. That's creating heaven on earth. That's all creating heaven on earth. So, until next time, remember, you are the activity of spirit in a body. You are the heart and hands of spirit in this world, but you are a soul designed for growth and goodness, and in everything you do, you are blessed. And so it is.